Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Matt and Anthony from the Pitti Group Wealth Management. This is the Finance Things in Life, and today we are going to be talking about aging parents. You ready for this?
I think so.
I think there's something
so.
on your mind right now, so you can just
Yeah,
get it off your chest.
Just looking at you, there's just something that's really bothering me. And it's not you, it's the thing next to you.
You talking about this right here?
There is, for those of you who can't see, there's about a 4-foot trophy next to Matt that he won from the Rochester District Soccer League Championship.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, it was quite a season.
I wasn't saying anything nice. It wasn't a thing where you say thank you.
No, it's definitely a big thank you. I appreciate your efforts this year. I guess trying to take us down, but I'll gladly get swept by you to win the league. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we can only do so much. We just got to count on the rest of the league to actually beat you too.
Yeah. Just
How many losses did you have this year?
2.
2.
Yeah.
To us.
To you.
Yeah.
Hey, it is what it is.
Things happen. Sometimes the bad guys win.
Something like that. You guys had your opportunity, but you blew it.
We did. We don't need to get into that.
Yeah. So over 30 premier RDSL champs. Shout out to all my boys.
Congratulations.
Yep. So
shout out to Pittsburgh Thirsties.
Yes. And to all our sponsors.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. So aging parents.
Now that we got that out of the way.
I just hope you look at it the entire...
I'm going to try to look this way, unfortunately. I'm just going to have to move it out. Aging parents.
Aging parents. So, as financial advisors, not only do we have, aging clients that we work with, but a lot of time our younger clients, when working with them, they have parents that are aging, and then oftentimes they are going to be either their caregivers or handling their finances. So we really try to kind of give them some guidance as far as what they need to do or what they can kind of prepare for, and that's what we'll talk about today. So.
Yeah, and it's all about starting the conversation early.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that you have on your side is time. So if you're waiting or you don't know how to broker the conversation, you're not sure what to say or how to say it, those are things that you can come to us to talk about. It can be sometimes a difficult conversation for parents that maybe, we've seen scenarios where they don't accept the fact that they're aging or have some kind of maybe a mental decline, something along those lines, or just quite honestly just don't want to talk about it with their kids.
Right. All depends on how you approach the topic. You don't want to make them defensive. You don't want to imply that they're, losing, the ability to handle their own finances. Really, the first step is just to get a general understanding and start the conversation. You don't have to make those changes.
Right.
But starting that conversation when you're able to, because you don't want to wait when it's too late, and now you're trying to track everything down, and God forbid, you have two parents and one's the one that actually handles the finances, and then and they're the ones that have an issue or something going on. It can get messy real quick.
Yeah.
So
you need to go through legalities, who the POA is, healthcare proxies. It can get
tracking everything down
all through the weeds. Yeah, can be a bit much.
So regardless if you have siblings or if you're going to be the one, if you're the POA or the executor or whatnot, but having that conversation early and then holding a family meeting. So if you have multiple siblings, I think it's a good idea to kind of bring everyone together, and either if you're leading it or hopefully that your parents are the ones leading that conversation, just to say this is what we have and this is what the plan is, and just kind of lay out that groundwork.
Yeah, just have an open conversation. All families are different. A lot of families can have some difficult scenarios where someone feels like they should be in charge of something, someone feels like they should be in charge of something. So having an open conversation of what the discussion needs to be, why you're making those choices, why you feel like it's in everyone's best interest, and you just come to an overall understanding and clarity is what you're looking for the most out of these conversations. It's not so much why is this person doing this and why is this person doing this. It's more of, okay, let's understand why this is happening and why it needs to happen.
Yeah, because I mean, you could have, one kid lives in, across the country. The parents live here in Rochester, and one of the kids lives in Rochester, so they're more than likely going to be handling a lot of the responsibility. And it's not to offend one of the kids, but I mean, it is what it is. So
yeah. And then as you're having this conversation, make sure you're talking about those legal documents that you need to have in place. So everyone's heard of having a will. You might be in a scenario where you need to have a trust, or like we mentioned before, a power of attorney, a healthcare proxy. We mentioned POA, power of attorney, for those of you that don't know. But those are conversations to start having early. Do you need to have a trust set up for your family? I believe the limit for estate tax is what, $7 million?
$7 million for New York State.
Yep, per person. So if you have assets over that amount, setting up a trust, or even close to that amount, setting up a trust to make sure those assets are protected, is another discussion to have.
Yeah, and we have tools, that will help organize some of those financial documents. So
yeah,
in case something were to happen, you have kind of this one document or a tool that kind of organizes everything, that lets your kids know, or your spouse know, where these documents are held, who the advisor is, who's the attorney, who's the CPA, and kind of just organize all those documents in one place, so it makes things easier.
The family love letter.
The family love letter, yep.
Keep it in a fireproof safe.
Right.
All of those documents. Right. Those are going to be very prudent to have. You don't want to be in a scenario. I've some friends of ours had a father pass away, and I think it took them months to find everything that they needed. As far as, do they have a will? Do they have, where is their attorney located? What's their CPA's contact information? All of the information, like where are banks held, like where their checking and savings accounts held. If the spouse doesn't know, then how are you going to start paying your bills if you don't know where the accounts are held? There's a lot of information that you may not think about, and especially in a time where, if you have a spouse that passes away, that's the last thing you want to be thinking about is, well, how am I going to pay my bills? You're in the middle of grieving your spouse. So those are things that you want some clarity on.
Yeah. It'll also give them, a better understanding of your financial situation. Having those accounts organized, and, where they're located, the bank accounts, safety deposit boxes, safes, whatever. I mean, you need to have that all organized.
Yeah. I mean, if you're, for example, if you're taking, if you're on a budget with your advisor, you're taking an RMD, or you're taking withdrawals from an investment account to pay for bills, and you're not familiar with that information, or what money's coming out of credit cards or whatever it is, making sure that you've got a good idea of what you have, what needs to be taken out. You're probably going to want to come up with a new budget now, and have some discussions on kind of what financial decisions that you want to make moving forward.
Yeah. And it makes sense. We can't say it enough. It makes sense to make that introduction to your advisor. There's a relationship there. So when that conversation needs to happen, you're comfortable and kind of know who to reach out to. And, it just saves a lot of time, effort.
Yeah, it's not a stranger just walking into a room. Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of times where, you make an introduction, and, Matt or I may have that conversation with the parents already, or had a conversation with the spouse that passed away. So we already have an idea of what needs to happen. It's all been documented. So that's another reason to get started early. You just have another person on your team to help you through the playbook, so to speak.
Right. Yep. Another thing to kind of think about is long-term care options. And, it's probably for parents that are aging, long-term care insurance is probably, it's a little too late for that. But, what are their thoughts on, care and assisted living or nursing home? One, it's expensive.
Gosh, so expensive.
So how is that going to be handled? And do they want to go? I mean, there's been so many times where we've had conversations with clients that they're like, there's no way I want to go to a assisted living facility or nursing home. And there's, other clients that, approach it with open arms, and, they don't want to put the burden on their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then, on the other side, you have some families that the kids are like, I'm going to take in mom and dad. I'm going to put in, kind of in-law suite to take care of them. And unfortunately, there's other times where kids live across the country or they're too busy, and it's just not an option. So it's coming up with a plan that is going to meet everyone's needs and wants, to the best of everyone's ability.
Yeah. Yeah, and outlining those assets prior to making those decisions or having to make those decisions. Like Matt said, the long-term care is very expensive, between, in some cases $15,000 to $20,000 a month. That will drain your assets very fast.
Right.
So having a plan in place on where you're going to have assets, how you're going to pay for long-term care, what are you going to do with your house? There's so many different avenues to discuss, and I feel like we say it on every episode: you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So if you're in a position where you're thinking about long-term care or you don't know what it is exactly, having a discussion with your advisor to kind of work through those wrinkles is essential in making sure that you at least have your ducks in a row.
Yeah. And it's as small as, the house you're living in, or, the house your parents are living in. Is it appropriate for them? Is it one story?
Mm-hmm.
Is it wheelchair accessible? Are the bathtubs, are they able to get in and out of those? All the way to, financially, can they afford an assisted living facility?
Yeah.
And everything in between. So, it doesn't have to be, a conversation that's always geared towards the finances of it. It's, is the home safe for them as they age? Yeah. And if not, what do they want to do?
Even our grandfather was in assisted living, mm-hmm. and our grandmother was still at their main house. She could have been 100% blind and made her way around that house with no problem at all. Could have probably made her own food, and she knew where everything mm-hmm. was. They had been there for so long. But at a certain point, you have to have the discussion, well, do they want to be together full time? Is that a main goal for them? Or is the upkeep of the house going to be too much? So there are those aspects as well. Yes, they are capable of living there, but is it what's best for them?
Right.
And that's a very difficult conversation to have.
Oh, 100%. You think about, on our mom's side, our grandparents there. Our grandfather unfortunately passed away earlier than, expected. And one of the last things he said to our grandmother was, keep the house. Mm-hmm. And so, the house wasn't ideal for her. The bedrooms were on the second floor.
Yep.
She had a couple of brain aneurysms, and, mm-hmm. Fortunately she was still kind of with it.
Stairs a couple times.
But it was, she felt obligated
mm-hmm.
to stay in that house, even though it wasn't best for her. Mm-hmm. And having that conversation was difficult. She just didn't want to leave. And sometimes you have to have those difficult conversations. And I think the earlier in the planning, the more planning you can have ahead of time, makes those conversations down the road easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Other things that you kind of consider, there's tax benefits, for caring for your parents. You might be, tax deductions or credits that you may be eligible for is something to also consider if you're willing to kind of take on those responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. Claiming a parent as a dependent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are a lot of the things that I feel like people don't think about at all. In a position, if you have a in-law suite in your house and you're taking care of your parents, you're thinking about, medications, medical expenses, making sure that they're happy and, able to live the life that they want. There are some financial advantages to that. So if that's an opportunity for you and you're in a position you're able to do that, having a conversation with a CPA and seeing what you can do about that as well.
Yeah. Another thing is financial oversight. So a lot of things now these days are, auto bill pay or, online access. And, as your parents age, and they have some cognitive decline, maybe they can't be handling that anymore. So having, access to their accounts where you're just providing at first maybe just oversight, making sure the bills are getting paid, make sure, the money going out is what should be going out. And,
much fraud.
Right.
It's unreal.
The elderly abuse fraud out there is unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, luckily we have a lot of things in place where we can maneuver those areas. Being in this industry, I don't want to say trained, but almost trained to kind of pick up on certain mental declines and unusual activity. We've had conversations with people where it's like, all right, I think we need to start having a conversation and get a general understanding of, is this going to be normal? Is this, do we need to get someone else involved? The fraud side is a huge thing to think about because, we've talked before, like, our grandfather got a call that I got in a car accident and they needed money for something,
right,
or something along those lines. But those are such easy things to fall for. And now they've got like voice recognition where they can almost imitate the sound of your voice.
They mimic your voice.
Yeah. Whenever I get a spam call or a random call, I don't even say my name anymore. I just say hello. Just so they can't take that part of it. And it's just something you have to think about, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's so, and it's not, when you're having this conversation with your parents, or maybe even grandparents, they may be hesitant, they may be protective over their assets. And it's not like you don't need full access. You don't need total control over their assets. Maybe it's just where you have view-only access, where you can at least just look over everything. Or maybe it's just signing them up for fraud monitoring, or even it's just having a conversation with their advisor, and letting them know, if you see anything, I think our parents, not our parents, but, the parents of the clients are, maybe they're aging and you're a little nervous. So just having that conversation so they can keep an eye out for it.
Yeah. And even conversations that I've had with people is, what do you have planned for the year? What are your expenses going to be in the upcoming year? I know your monthlies. I know what you're taking out of your account to pay your normal expenses. But tell me what you have planned as far as travel, things along those lines. So if there's ever the case where we get a phone call or an email, luckily we don't process anything via email. But if there's a strange withdrawal from the account that doesn't match up what you normally do, maybe it sends a red flag as far as just a follow-up. Is this supposed to be happening? Just general conversations like that. And it's just kind of a repeat of just having those open conversations with your advisor about, it may not seem important at the time, but probably is something to be noted.
Yeah. And tie in with the, monthly expenses or kind of planning out their expenses for the year. It's, also building kind of a budget of what it would look like to have maybe a caregiver. So, maybe just, at first with our grandparents, it was just having someone come into the house, maybe a few times a week to, spend time there, or maybe someone to make meals or clean the house. And so coming up with a budget there, and kind of build that in place. So when the time comes, if it comes, you have a general idea, okay, this is what they can afford and this is what they want, and so on. So,
yeah. And then basically to kind of tie a bow on it, it's having a conversation with, your parents and the kids to discuss if they've got any future goals for the family. A lot of people in these situations may say, hey, I need X amount of money to live comfortably. I've got X amount of money left over. I'd like to give a gift to grandkids, or I'd like to help with, a purchase of some sort, or gifting. Understanding what their goals are for, the end of their life, what their life goal is. Having that conversation as well, so that can be planned accordingly.
Yeah. And sometimes, that can all be done maybe through a trust or the will, but maybe, financially it does make sense to gift early, and gifting to those grandkids or your own kids, and kind of laying the groundwork there. So, yeah, I mean, it all kind of ties together, but, we can't stress enough, have that conversation early.
Communication is key.
Communication is key.
Even if you don't think there's anything to talk about, I can almost guarantee you something will come up where you're like, I'm glad we had this conversation. Yeah. Even if it's just clarity. Like, I just want to know what to expect in the future. Because that changes, if I'm looking at it from a kid's perspective, that changes my financial outlook. Like, what do I need to be budgeting for? Or what do I need to be saving for as far as, retirement, my kids' education, my own savings, my own future planning as far as, the goals that we have as well. That also comes into effect.
Yeah. Not only, that comes into effect as far as planning for yourself, but also, if you are someone that is going to feel obligated to help take care of your parents, that affects your financials as well.
Immensely.
I just had a client. She's retiring earlier than expected, or earlier than she was planning on it, because she's going to be staying home to help take care of her dad. And her mom's still alive, but her mom can't do it. So she's essentially going to be, a caregiver to her parents. And fortunately, financially, she was able to do that. Because we had kind of planned and ran a financial plan that had her retiring earlier. But her retirement plan wasn't based on her retiring earlier to take care of her dad. It just happened to be, that's what was needed. So, having that conversation early, planning earlier, on both sides of it, whether you're the child with aging parent or vice versa. So, it's not an easy topic to discuss, and usually it's not a fun topic. But I tell you what, having that conversation earlier when everyone's aware of what's going on, that's the best time to have it.
For sure. 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everyone, or we appreciate everyone tuning in to this. If you have questions, or if you have an aging parent and, you want to have that conversation, or if you want to kind of, bring them in and kind of have a mediator, we're more than happy to kind of facilitate that conversation. Or, we kind of have a handout that we can kind of share with you that might kind of lay some of the tools out, or the steps that you need to do or think about to get in place.
Yeah, so kind of like a warm introduction into it.
Yeah. Well, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah,
if you have any
appreciate it.
other ideas on other podcasts, please feel free to let us know.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks.
Bye now.